again, everybody. Welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker. And if you think about people who are sick, people who are brainwashed, people who just are just lost, one of those people, one of those guys that comes to mind is, of course, Mike Israeli boy Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel. He recently did an interview with Tucker Carlson. I thought it was okay. Carlson did push him. Of course, the Carlson haters are saying Huckabee won this debate. Huckabee did everything and anything he could to prove the Greater Israel Project as fact, and that the American people are going to be the ones that pay for it. He, in this interview, basically says verbatim that yes, Israel deserves, from the Nile to the Euphrates, all the lands that encompass that area. That is something that Israel doesn't have the capabilities of doing. They don't have the sophistication to do it. They don't have the military forces. They have trouble with bombing women and children. You think they're going to take on military forces from Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt? I mean, you think they're going to do this by themselves? No, it's not going to happen. So guess who is going to have to pick up the tab for this? Pay with boots on the ground, pay with blood and treasure. That's right, the suckers here in the United States. When are we going to learn that these Protestant boomer failures are driving your children into wars not for the best interest of the United States, but for the interest of a slither of desert of people there who could give two shits about you? They hate Christians so much that they spit at them. If you believe all this Epstein stuff, they even unalive young children, babies. They even have I can't say the R word. They even have unwanted sex with girls on there, on these islands. They love to demean anybody who worships or loves Jesus Christ. They hate us. They hate you. But these Protestant Zionists, and I do not call them Christian because there's nothing Christian about them. They're Bible thumpers and they're brainwashed. They wholly believe that God himself said to only the Israeli people, that land over there, all of it is yours. Take it by any means necessary. Here, Huckabee and Tucker Carlson speak about, I think it's Genesis 15, and they talk about what is essentially the Greater Israel Project. This is for entertainment purposes, educational purposes only. Tucker Carlson.
To Genesis. Genesis 15 says, you've appealed to Genesis. Genesis 15 says it's Abram, it's pre-Abraham, it's Abram, receives from God the news that his descendants will inherit the land. And you tell me as the theologian if I'm getting this wrong, but from the Euphrates to the Nile. I think that's right. And that would include like basically the entire Middle East. That would be the Levant. So that would be Israel, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. It would also be big parts of Saudi Arabia and Iraq. It would be,
I'm not sure it would go that far. I mean, it would be a big piece of land, but here's the point.
It would be a lot of places that are now countries.
But this particular area that we're talking about now, Israel, is a land that God gave through Abraham to a people that he chose. It was a people, a place, and a purpose. We can look at it that way. Christian Zionism, I want to go back because that's where we started.
I'm not going to let you off on this because you have said it 3 times that God gave this land to this people. And so it is entirely fair for me with respect to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times.
Mm-hmm.
And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So God gave that land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
Madness. Utter madness. And for somebody like Mike Huckabee to say stuff like this and to go that far just goes to show these people are just gone. They're either compromised to the hilt, and it would not surprise me if his name has been linked to any type of shenanigans, whether it's Epstein or not. It wouldn't surprise me if he's been involved in stuff. Listen, he's talked to that Israeli spy Pollard. He gave him an audience. Pollard, of course, Jonathan Pollard, I think his name was, stole U.S. nuclear secrets, delivered them to Israel. He was a spy. He, of course, still alive, still mingling in Israel. Nothing will become of him. If you sell drugs in the United States, they will send Delta Force, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Chuck Norris, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rambo. They'll send the Terminator down and 10 American Gladiators to go get you. But somebody who steals nuclear technology, they let it go. That's the hypocrisy of this country. And this is what I just don't understand. Why we cuck for these people. Or is it just that boomer doomer generation? We have to wait for them to die out. It's too, I mean, why can't we just vote them out? Just get them out of there. No more, nobody over the age of 65 in politics anymore. How's that? Get them all out. Because these people are just insane. They're sick. To use one passage from the Bible that, by the way, changed when Jesus became the Christ. Well, he was always the Christ. The new law. Jesus changed the new law. So all that happened in the Old Testament is in fact old and finished. The New Testament is what we all live through. These people say no. It's almost as if Jesus didn't even come. Now, this is it back in January. Mike Huckabee, he's out of his mind. He says here, and I quote, Israel will not pay a single penny to rebuild Gaza, and America should pay reparations to Israel. Here is this maniac, Mike Huckabee.
Should Israel be expected to even pay one penny to rebuild Gaza at this point?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'll tell you.
Look at the fervor in his voice. Absolutely not. Like as if he was insulted by that question. Well, tell me why the American people have to pay for this. Because of Genesis 15? Are you fucking crazy? Are you kidding me? This is why atheists mock morons like this. And well, there's only one Christian community, and that's Catholics, but they mock all of anyone who is religious at all because these Bible thumpers are retarded. They are willing to sacrifice your children, your tax dollars for people who don't give a shit about us and who have no purpose, no tangible purpose for us. They give us nothing. They don't have oil, they don't have gold, they don't have diamonds, they don't have anything. Natural resources, they have nothing. They have nothing to offer the United States. A country like Brazil, they have all the natural resources that you can imagine. Are we going to get into a war with, Paraguay if there's a Paraguayan war? No, America doesn't give a shit. But anybody who mentions Israel, you're on high alert. It's sickening to me.
If anything, there ought to be reparations to Israel for the extraordinary fight that they have had to conduct to get their hostages back, 252, including many Americans.
Should Israel be expected?
And why do Americans have to pay this reparations? I just don't. Why can't anybody answer this question? It just doesn't make any sense to me. No one can answer that question. Now, this is the first time that this question has come up. Tucker Carlson has had other people on here on his show who talked about the Greater Israel Project. And this gentleman here, I forget his name, but he's pretty good. This is a map of what the Greater Israel Project entails, right? We see parts of Egypt, a huge part, basically all of northern Saudi Arabia, all of Jordan, most of Syria, half of Iraq, bordering Turkey, Lebanon in there. I mean, did God really promise them that swath of land? Because they never had it. They never conquered that land. They were never there. I mean, Israel, modern day Israel today, was given to them by the British at the behest of the Rothschilds. Nobody said anything about Egypt. Nobody said anything about Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, none of these places. But now, it's a big deal because America is so brainwashed by these people. It really is. It's scary how a parasite a cancer can just grow in a people's mind. And if you think these countries are going to stand for it, they're not. Turkey has the largest army, I think the largest army in Europe. 20 million men. Syria is not going to allow this. Jordan's not going to allow this. Lebanon's not going to allow this. Whoever's in charge in Iraq, they're all terrorists. They're not going to allow it. And you think Egypt's going to allow them to take the Suez Canal and most of eastern Egypt? No. It's just not going to happen.
No, we're going to have Greater Israel, and we're just going to bash anybody that doesn't like it.
What is Greater Israel?
Greater Israel means either that Israel controls not only its geographic territory, but that it essentially controls or annexes the West Bank, the Golan Heights, which they've just enlarged, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. So everything that was captured in 1967, Netanyahu explicitly said, we're never giving that back. There are religious zealots, I would use even stronger terms, who use the book of Joshua, which is 2,700 years ago, that said, well, God gave us everything from the river in Egypt, meaning the Nile, to the Euphrates. And there are zealots in Israel, and they're in the government, who believe, yes, this is God's ordinance. We're going to take whatever we want.
The fact of the matter is that Christian Zionism, I put Christian, I should have put Protestant, they're not biblical. They're, in fact, anti-Christ. They're anti-Jesus. They support this new Talmud version of Judaism because the old Judaism doesn't exist anymore. The Mosaic laws were finished at the time Jesus' arrival on earth. And Jesus brought the new law, which is Christianity. And Protestant evangelicals and Baptists and Southern Baptists and all these other assholes like Mike Huckabee, they're just wrong. They're simply wrong. But the fact that they're in power, they have sway, is dangerous, and they shouldn't. This stuff, this garbage needs to end. They're the reason why this country is in peril with it on the inside, and they're the reason why this country will be in peril outside of its borders. And we have to get rid of these, and it's the boomers. Doesn't matter if they're Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. Well, there's no such thing as conservative. Progressive, libertarian, they're all the same. If they're boomers, they have the same parasitical thoughts. Israel, 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 Israel first, America. If America doesn't bless Israel, America deserves to die and go away. That's shameful. That's pathetic. And God help us all if these people continue to stay in power. We need new blood, new ideas, new thoughts, and we need a fundamental shift in how we conduct foreign affairs and who we fight wars with, not for, with. And it can no longer be these Israelis because, again, they offer us nothing, absolutely nothing, except a waste of blood and treasure. And there's my 2 cents. Thanks again for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Remember, my friends, Satan is always busy. You just saw one of his shepherds there. Be a man and have a backbone because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for. And remember, if it ends in an ism, it's a mental disorder. Have a good weekend.